Hello again, everybody. Welcome to my third video. Today I'm going to be covering a topic that I have a gut feeling is going to cause a lot of responses. It's definitely going to be something that a number of my friends I know are going to probably have a few things to say about. But I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. So again, I want to present that this is just my perspective. It's just meant to be sharing of what I currently hold as true, and hopefully maybe it doesn't adjust your own perspective or it reinforces your current one. So again, we'll see. Today I'm going to cover the concept of what I think God is and how exactly that relates to each and every one of us. As with my previous video, I want to emphasize the redefinition of two terms, that being positive and negative. Positive being energy which harmonizes, and negative being that which separates. Again, taking out that concept of good or bad, it's just the state of being. Positive brings things together, negative separates them, and it isolates them. Not good or bad, it does. I also want to express that my current belief about this comes almost directly from Bashar. It's not that I took his idea and I accepted it immediately. It was his way of putting things resonated on a lot of different levels for me, and it answered a lot of different questions and issues I had growing up with the different institutional religions. So it's not that I just accepted this idea. It's something that I very much do believe in. It's something that follows my own personal philosophy, and it answered a lot of questions and tied up a lot of hypocrisies that I saw in a lot of the institutions. So before I get right into that, a bit more about me. I grew up in a Catholic household, and from a very young age, I recognized that while there was a lot of good things to be had in the faith, it wasn't my exact path. There was too many issues within the context of the institution of the church that it didn't work, and I recognized that very early. And in particular, the idea of God being a being of unconditional love, yet had places of heaven and hell, and at the same time, this unconditional loving God who would send you to an appropriate state based on your current existence could give us free will and then be vengeful when we made wrong choices. It didn't make sense to me. But then the Catholics have that nature of come to confession, your sins will be forgiven, and you can go on your happy way. Then I watched people abuse that system, and they either followed the system and never really found a source of happiness in it. They may have corrected issues, but it never really brought them happiness. Or people who abused it and used it as an excuse to go, well, I can go out and do whatever, and all I gotta do is go to confession later, and I'll feel good about it, because then I'm apologizing to God, and then it's all good. And I loved one of my previous teachers who used to describe that notion. He would always laugh about it. He'd describe God as sitting up on his throne and just chuckling to himself when he watched people try and pull the wool over his eyes, so to speak. So, that nature of free will, and then that concept of there's different afterlives for you depending on what you do in this lifetime, that idea somewhat held validity, but it holds a lot of intrinsic contradictions with the way that the institution presents it. Again, I think the message is there, it's just the way they're presenting it is not working. And a point I do want to make is I don't hold any animosity towards the institutions themselves. The institutions, I believe, have gone in a direction where now it's just a mass following of you have to believe this, you have to follow this path, and that is how you get to this goal, which it doesn't. There's too many variations on life, and there's too many different ways of looking at good and bad, right and wrong, that it everything is a matter of perspective. And what's one person can see as good, the other person can see as bad, and then it's everything in between. And the institutions don't allow for that perspective. They say this is the way, this is how you're supposed to do it. There may be a little room for interpretation, but they still have a set way to do it. And you notice when people disagree on a couple key points, then that group of people goes, see you later, we're starting our own faith. And then you end up with Christianity as a broad term. Then there's all these different sects of it that have their own separate faith, which is only different in a few minor points from another one. And it's laughable to watch people do this, just disagreeing on minor things just because somebody said you can't do it any other way, and they said, well, yes I can, so bye. But that's not the institution's fault. It is partially their fault, but it is also the main responsibility relies on the people that follow it blindly. I understand why people wish to follow blindly. It's a lot easier to do when somebody's giving you the answers that you're supposed to have, because finding them can be difficult when you don't know where to look. But if you're not looking around yourself and you're not trying to find that path that is truly you, then having somebody else give you that answer isn't going to work for you. Because if they're selling the same answer to 100 million different people, then I'm sure there's going to be at the very least a little bit of discrepancy there, because just with our infinite nature, just as many people as there are on the planet are their different lifestyles, perspectives, among other things. So that's that. So then there's also the conflict with science and just a whole other number of issues that come up. So when Bashar started talking about the idea of God, he described God as the source energy. He is the highest level of existence. It is that which is truly connected to all things. That highest point of positive energy where everything in existence is an extension of him. And that follows in line with what most religions teach. It's that source energy, everything and everyone, everything that is, was, or will be is an extension of that eternal light that is unconditional love and God. And then looking at how people describe, or a lot of different religions describe the body. It is your Merkaba. It is the temple for that essence of God, which is you. We are all shards of God. And in our current state, we aren't that highest positive energy, and it disconnects us in a lot of different ways from a lot of different things. If you look at the enlightened Buddha, he described the nature of connecting to all things, and that was that state of enlightenment, when you fully understood everything and how it worked and operated, and it allowed for that understanding of when that highest state of being is the connection to everything and that understanding of everything. And it goes wrong again if that isn't right or wrong. So that's what I believe God is. Now, playing into what we truly are. As extensions of God, we intrinsically hold all of his natures. We are beings of light energy. We are, at our core, beings of unconditional love. This current existence just muddies that up quite a bit, and it presents a lot of different difficulties to overcome in order to reach that state. So in having all of his natures, we inherently also have his abilities as well. We are creators. We can absolutely create anything we see. If we can imagine it, we can produce it. And when we reach that higher state of being, it will be as simple as let there be whatever, and bam, it's going to manifest in front of you. It may not even have to be that. You can just think it, and boom, it's right in front of you. But we're not quite there yet. But that's okay, because we'll all get there at some point, but I don't think there's anything wrong with understanding that you are inherently a creator yourself, because that comes along with the nature of free will. It is you choose whatever path you want to take, and as a creator, you can create anything and everything down whatever path it is that you are choosing. Now, this is where things get a little muddied, because when you look at it from a standpoint of good or bad, if you are a creator, you can create horrible things, and that's typically what I've recognized people have attributed to the devil. He's the angel of creation of evil, the negative energy, separating from God, which is what a lot of faiths teach. It is when you turn to the fallen angel, you are turning away from God, which is going in that negative path. But that doesn't mean the fallen angel himself is bad, because as an extension of God, he would intrinsically be good. And looking at stories in a lot of religious texts, they don't describe Lucifer as an evil being. He just turned away from God, which isn't, when you remove the bounds of good and bad, it's an equally valid existence. And with that nature of free will, it was his choice to do so, just as it is our choice to take that path towards God, that path of connection to all things, or we can turn from it and take the path of that which separates. Or you can do a combination of the two. It's completely in your power. And that's the nature of being a god, is you can choose what you create in your reality. And when you understand that, you can start making the conscious choice to move in the direction that you truly desire. Now, here's the kicker. It is that afterlife concept of you will go to this place based on your actions in this reality. I do believe in. I don't believe in a notion of heaven or hell. I think it's just another existence. There's a number of faiths that teach the idea of reincarnation, or it's just reincarnation, things coming back in a different form, in a different way, and it's taught as it's meant to be an experience. When you live a certain lifestyle, you will be put in another one in your next life to teach you a lesson that you didn't learn in that previous life. And you'll continually go through these cycles until you reach that point that you're ready to keep moving forward. And this is the part that really resonated with me when Bashar talked about it, was when all forms of existence are equally valid, and it is fully valid to live the negative existence in order to learn what you intrinsically do not want to be. I truly don't believe that any being of any nature wishes to take the direction of negative energy, because separating from the majesty that is the infinite creation, it is nothingness. And inherently within creation, that's something that's amazing, because that unconditional love and power is always there, to the point where you can truly believe and choose that direction to disconnect from it almost entirely. But you can never fully separate from it, because that at your core, at your full core, at that very, very center, it is that unconditional love and light. And that's why you can always turn back to God. That's that nature of, you can always redeem yourself. You can always make up for past actions. You can always fix your mistakes. There is always a chance for you to improve yourself. But that also takes a lot of personal responsibility. And as if you consider yourself a god, you create your reality, it's your fault for a number of things that manifest themselves into your reality. Now, we are also all gods co-creating next to each other, and the whole of the creation of our planet leads to a lot of different issues, because now we're conflicting against each other and we're not harmonizing. I think the world currently is in a state where a lot of us are disconnected. There's not this connection to all these other people. It's a lot of people, shutting themselves in, saying what's mine is mine, and the rest of the world can go themselves. And I have a big problem with that, because it only leads to unhappiness of both the individuals and us as a whole. But that doesn't mean that we're not without hope, because there are a lot of us out there who are finding those paths that truly make us happy. We're finding those paths of our highest vibration, and when we start exuding that energy, other people pick up on it and they start exuding that energy. But we're also fighting against the battle of people taking the negative path and other people tuning into that negative energy. But the fun part is that which harmonizes typically wins. While the collective as a whole may be disconnecting, as the core group that harmonizes slowly builds, it builds more and more momentum. And I personally think that it's just a matter of years before we'll end up reaching that point of a global society where we all recognize that we are connected. We all recognize that we are part of one species, one being, and we are all these beings of light and love. And when we can recognize that with everybody else, we won't have this need to keep for ourselves, and we'll find the different ways to make everybody happy. We'll find the ways that everybody can manifest their realities, and at that point we're going to create something amazing. So that's that. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope this talk in particular resonates with a number of people. And if it's very possible that my way of putting it isn't quite the best, I would also encourage you to look at Bashar's videos. I'll provide a link or two below, but he has a number of videos that cover these topics. But I really loved this idea of all of us being creators and all of us being beings of light, and all of us having to take that personal responsibility. And when we do that, that's when we can recognize that we can make the full choice to harmonize ourselves and then harmonize to the rest of the universe. And when we do that, a lot of very, very wonderful, beautiful, miraculous things are going to happen. So I really do hope this opens up that door for a lot of you. And if it doesn't, if it opens a door for even one person, the video will have made an immense difference. So thank you guys again. Namaste.